There's an individual in one of the lightsaber groups on Facebook that asked an interesting question, and I don't know, I just thought I'd talk about it for a minute on this channel. So basically, the person, they have a coworker that gave them a Luke Skywalker lightsaber from Disney World. So, a legacy lightsaber, somewhat like this, except this is a Darth Vader one. So just imagine that, which, by the way, is like a super awesome gift. If somebody gives you that, it's, you have a very good friend, you're having a very lucky day, that kind of thing. But anyway, so, he wanted to repay her for this gift, but she didn't want to be repaid for it, basically. So anyway, this guy was asking, how much is the lightsaber, right? So how much is it if you buy it from the park? Now, if we just look at that question in the literal sense, so I believe the lightsabers from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the legacy lightsabers, start at about $150. That's for the lightsaber in the box without the blade. That's a new price. The original prices were a little lower than that, and Disney had an increase in the price more recently. But anyway, if you're answering the question literally, it would be, around $150 or so plus tax, that type of thing. But what was interesting about this topic is how far it strayed, from the literal answer to the question. There's a lot of people, mostly guys, that were reading into it that, this woman, this coworker of the man, likes him or, has a crush on him or wants him or something like that. And they just, they're really reading into it that way. And so there were responses of, various levels. Some people kind of on more of the tame end were like, well, you should ask her out or ask her to dinner. And then, some of the responses got a little more specific beyond that. But anyway, I found it kind of interesting that some people took that approach immediately. But again, it seemed like mostly guys were responding that way, and there were some women that spoke up in this group, and some guys too, that basically said, just because a coworker, a friend, does something nice for you doesn't mean that they have a crush on you, which that's the way I would look at this too, you guys. So, I guess part of the way I look at things in a broader sense is I don't like to read too far into things, just generally speaking, without having enough evidence of it. So that's just sort of an approach I generally like to take. And I think people can often jump to conclusions about various behavior without actually knowing what's going on. Plus, so we're just, on our end, reading this question from the individual, we don't know his whole circumstances. Like, this guy could be married, could be very good friends with this coworker, and, maybe they get gifts for each other occasionally, or, gifts aren't also just about the value of the item. Now, in terms of somebody giving a lightsaber like this, a lot of us would consider this kind of a higher ticket item to give to a friend. But it really, it depends on potentially the person's salary, and it depends on their existing relationship. And some people are just more likely to, be very generous in that manner. And so probably my favorite answers, and that I agree with in the whole bunch, were the people that were talking about him getting a different gift for her. So, and it doesn't necessarily need to be immediately either. It's just, if she's a good friend of his and, he knows, like maybe she's a fan of something else, like Lord of the Rings, or maybe it's something else different still, like Downton Abbey or who knows what. He can find out, or something like, I don't know, traveling, or who knows? There's all sorts of things. It could be like kittens or frogs, or, sometimes people have things like that they like. But at any rate, so he could basically at some point, give her a thoughtful gift. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be the same value, because I know when I think of the gifts that I appreciate the most in general, they're the gifts that are more thoughtful, which of course is also one of the hardest things to do. And if we loop around to his original question about how he was, wondering how much basically he should repay her for this lightsaber, that's the easiest out on this, right? If he just may want it kind of done, just like, I want to pay her back, I don't want to feel like I owe her anything, but like, that's kind of the easy way out in a way, and it also can actually make her potentially feel bad, like she's doing a nice thing for him, and then he just, if he pays her for it, it's almost like he's rejecting the gift in a way. So a few other people made that point too, but I do agree that sort of socially speaking, it could, come across that way. But what do you guys think about this? So there's this guy asking about, basically repaying his coworker, bought him a nice legacy lightsaber from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge from Disney World. He wants to pay her back. Well, I think that it's nicest if at some point he, gets some type of gift that's special to her, or, does something nice for her, something thoughtful, that type of thing, rather than literally sort of repay the gift. Well, feel free to comment below and give your thoughts about all of this too, also, I just really don't think there's enough evidence to indicate that she gave him the gift, because she has a crush on him or wants something more like that. I think that's reading into it way too much. We also don't know both of their circumstances. Like, they could both, be married and have families separate from each other and just, have a really nice friendship. So anyway, feel free to comment below.